We welcome you to Crown Corner on this Wednesday, the 25th of May, 2022. Willie P, Jessica Charman here with you, and we are so glad to be with you on another U.S. Open Cup evening. Charlotte FC taking on the New York Red Bulls on Wednesday before their MLS match against Seattle. We'll focus mostly on New York Red Bulls and also what we saw on Sunday against Vancouver. Good evening, Miss Charman.
Good evening. It's a delightful day. It's a game day and also a Crown Corner where we get to talk a little bit about a win. So, I mean, it feels like a good one, right?
It does. And I do feel like, when we come out of this Vancouver contest, for a lot of us, I feel like we look at this and we think, oh my goodness, how do you go about duplicating what you guys did against Miami and overcoming what happened against Montreal? The fact that they were able to use that 4-3-3, I think, to perfection. They overcome the early concession and come out with, I think, one of their most positive results of the season because of how they came back against Vancouver on Sunday.
Look, we made hard work of it. Let's be completely honest there. We dug a real hole early on with a disastrous error, but as you mentioned, the first time we've been able to come back from a losing position all season. And we've spoken about what that shows about the mentality of this team, what that shows about an improvement in being able to grind out results out of difficult opportunities and coming back stronger. 4-3-3, you'll love to see it. We got far more bodies forward, far more options in the box, far more opportunities going forward. What are we still missing, though? That clinical finishing. When you look at target, look, we had a young goalie in goal and he made a couple of good saves, let's be real. But when you're taking those shots, you've got to hit the target. You've got to test him early on. I think he grew into the game, Max Anchor, for Vancouver, and we allowed him a chance to grow into the game by not really pummeling him with shots as much as we should. But as a whole, very happy with the fact we were able to come back from the losing position. And most importantly, something that we have to remember is successful teams are able to grind out results and pick up points when they're not necessarily playing their best or being as organized or being as clinical. And that's what we showed on Sunday.
And looking at, obviously, the way that you mentioned the fact that they didn't get the kind of shots on target they wanted to, they had only about 30% of their shots on target, which is below their average, which they normally average around 38% on target. And as a result of that, I think that'll let that average go down. And one of the things that I feel like we keep talking about is getting enough of those chances and converting those chances. There were a couple opportunities where Anchor was not very stout and strong in the 6-yard box. And as a result of that, you definitely saw them start to kind of weaken a bit, especially as the game went on. You saw the center backs taking goal kicks for Anchor, and he really wasn't necessarily adept at taking punts. It was definitely a situation where Charlotte FC, I think, were somewhat knocking on that doorstep for the better part of the second half. They just finally broke through in the 85th with Danny Rios as winner.
And I think a player that deserves a lot of credit for banging on that door was Jordi Alcivar. He was taking those in-swinging corners. He was putting them in great positions. He was making Max Anchor come and deal with them. I actually thought if there's one thing the goalkeeper did very well, it was handling that ball under his crossbar, got a couple of really good punches on there. But Jordi Alcivar was causing problems from those corners. He was taking shots from distance. I love the confidence from him to take a rip. And sometimes I'd like to see that more from some of our other players, having that confidence to take a rip. One player in particular, Ben Bender, who I know is a fan favorite. We all want him to succeed. But if there's one area of the game that Ben Bender can work on, it's decision-making, moving that ball a little quicker, taking the shot when it's on. And I'm understanding that some of that comes from the managerial. That's the style of play Miguel wants. He wants you to recycle if it's not completely on. But sometimes, man, when you've got that rip, take that rip. Don't take 22 touches and get it going. But Jordi Alciva deserves credit, and the substitutions as well. I think it was a real marvel. And Will, you got to speak about it. Bringing those attacking substitutions on showed the depth that we have, and those fresh legs to come on with the speed and the confidence they have. Marvelous.
It was a fun match to call on Sunday. Here's a little bit of a sample of what we got to hear, or what we got to say to you on the Charlotte FC Radio Network.
Karol Swiderski plays the first ball back to Brandt Bronico, and we are underway here at the bank. A giveaway, though, by Fuchs. A shot, and they score! It is to St. Ricketts on the far sideline who puts it home, and Vancouver, the Road Warriors, start out on top in the second minute. Cross into the area by Swiderski, a shot, they score! Andrej Sinyasiki on the header from Karol Swiderski, and Charlotte are level on Andre's second in MLS play. Bender inside the area. Bender with a shot. He scored! He missed it. Oh, he missed it. Oh, we all got fooled. We all got fooled.
We didn't all get fooled, Will. Willie B got fooled.
You were all over it.
I was ready to giggle. I really care about not looking like a tomato by the end of the match.
Moore playing it ahead for Vargas, who gets his first touch. Kerwin gets around his man. It's Kerwin. Kerwin in the area. Oh, at the speed. Kerwin Vargas with a shot. A save made. Kerwin Vargas outside the right post. Vargas with a shot. Oh, Karol was so close. Oh, Karol was that close to a flick. If he puts it on net, that's a goal. McKenzie in the middle. McKenzie with some room. Trying to play it for Rios. Karam's to the left side. It's TT in the area. Looking for Rios. He scores! Daniel Rios! His first MLS goal for Charlotte FC! And Charlotte on top in the late stages! 2-1!
Tenacity from Rios. He had to get it right. He made the run. He held his ground. And he buries it.
1v1 against Mora. Caicedo gets around Mora. Slide tackle by Mora. Here's Timer with a shot. Save Kalina! And that is the save of the year! As Christian Kalina holds the goal!
I know you made fun of me in that one, Jess, when it comes to those situations, especially with that goal, but I feel like that last 10 to 12 minutes was some of the most nerve-wracking football we've seen all season. And the fact that we saw Charlotte FC probably be about as tall and strong in those late moments is something that I feel like is a testament to how much this club has grown.
Yeah, the game management was fantastic, and the options that were made to hold out the result were brilliant. And yeah, I made fun of you because save of the year, look, it was a very important save, but it was one that if Kalina had let it in, I'd have been screaming at him, and not in a good way. But you know, I'm delighted with the way that we were able to hold out that result. And most importantly, I'm delighted for Rios because as we've called him time and time again this season, he's been an unsung hero. We've said that he's knocking on the door. We've said that a goal is coming. Well, now the goal came, and he deserves that MLS goal. And I think it was a beautiful moment as well. Anyone that saw him on social media dedicating it to his grandfather that passed away. And that one is one that just gets you in the gut feeling as well. So really glad for him on a personal level as well.
Led to a very happy Miguel Angel Ramirez after the contest.
This impact with the minutes, and that's why I changed the forwards. Titi, Kerwin, and straight away something started to happen, and we had chances, and so I believe that we did really well how to progress and how to find the ways, and later on.
And we love a happy Miguel. We love a confident Miguel that feels like he made the right decisions. And look, Will and I were some of his harshest critics in the Montreal game. We did not necessarily agree with the way that he set out. And I think he got nearly everything right during this game against Vancouver. The formation, the personnel, the substitutions, bringing on certain players, leaving certain players out of the lineup. And if there's one thing he's doing really well, he's fostering that competition in the front three, which we love to see.
And we certainly love to see one player in particular make the at least line up during the down the stretch period of the contest. It was Kerwin Vargas, who was a very, very big part of Charlotte FC's attack late in the contest. least I thought I had the Kerwin Vargas one. We'll get to it a little bit later on as we go throughout Charlotte FC's crown corner here. I know Pietro actually wanted to talk a little bit about Kerwin Vargas. He said so on our comments, and we encourage you to comment to us here on Charlotte FC's crown corner. He's somebody who I feel like he brings a different level of tenacity off the bench with the clinical skill and the speed. And as a result, Jess, I think so much of what he brings is just absolute 100% clinical energy that we did not necessarily have coming off the bench at any point this season.
Yeah, he's got that Latin flair. You know, you can tell that he spent a lot of time in Colombia because he's got that confidence. It looks like he's grown up playing one-on-one soccer in the streets. You know, I've got to see a lot of kids growing up in Colombia and the style of soccer that they play, and it's beautiful. It fosters that confidence. It fosters that cheekiness, as I like to call it. And he comes off the bench immediately. He takes someone on the outside with 10 step overs and gets a good shot on. And then the next time he comes inside and takes a shot. So what I love about him is that diversity of what he can offer. He'll take you around the outside, or he'll cut inside and he'll take a shot on you. So when you have an unpredictable player with like that, that's also blessed with pace, that's also blessed with a skill set that not many wingers will have in this league, I think he can build a real danger for you. And Will, you mentioned him coming off the bench, but I wonder how long he will sit on the bench for, because for me, he's definitely got that starter potential.
Miguel Angel Ramirez is certainly a fan of the 20-year-old from Colombia.
We need to break the game because we are not winning or whatever. We have these kind of players that can change the game as he shows. Because in the 1v1s, you know, finishing. So this is the thing that I always say for the forwards. I mean, something need to happen, you know. So yeah, was the reason why I put in the roster, and because we were tying and we needed to win. Let's go.
And he mentions he brought him into the roster earlier than a lot of us might have been expecting. A lot of the time, maybe you give a player time to acclimate, but he's already seen that he's fitting into the game model. He's already seeing the threat that he poses, and you don't want to keep a player like that out of your team for very often. And we're excited to have him. And again, that's a real testament to the recruiting of this side. He was a player that was very well scouted in Portugal, in Europe, but he picked to come to Charlotte FC. He picked to come to MLS. And that really shows where this league and this team is attracting really young, talented players.
And you mentioned when he might feature. He could feature, honestly, as soon as maybe after the international break, just because you'll have that opportunity to get some extra matches, get some extra practice days in, because a lot of this team will still stick around Charlotte and still practice during the international break without having a contest, at least in MLS, from the 29th of May until the 11th of June. You might have opportunity for him to really get sped up on the game model and get an opportunity for him to possibly feature when Kamil Józwiak and Karol Swiderski are both gone for the UEFA Nations League. Swiderski is already gone. He won't feature tonight or on the weekend. Józwiak could feature tonight because he is with the team and he will at least be with them through the weekend as well. So maybe when Józwiak goes in or goes away to Europe, maybe Vargas slides in, Jess.
And that's what you need. You need squad depth, because with the windows not always aligning, with transfer breaks not always allowing a team an opportunity to break when there's international action, you need to have like-for-like substitutions. You need to have players that are going to be able to take on your starting minutes. And honestly, it's a great opportunity to Vargas, for him to be able to show, hey, once I get that starting position, I'm not going to give it up. It's a great opportunity with Swiderski out for players like Daniel Rios to show what he's made of. He's already got the goals. Swiderski hadn't scored in a long, long time. Of course, he got the assist. That's not to go forgotten. But now Rios has an opportunity too to keep Miguel wondering, do I know what my best starting 11 is? And that's a great position to be in for a side.
If you follow our show, you know that when we have a midweek match or if we have a U.S. Open Cup match, we do things a little differently. Unable to get a player this week because they were basically training all the way up until the match coming up tonight in Montclair, New Jersey. Also, no opportunity to get a supporters group person, only because of the fact that they're all basically congregated tonight at Big Ben Pub in Elizabeth. So we want to make sure that they are plenty loud for the folks there at Big Ben. And if you are at least wanting to hang with probably the best people you could watch the Charlotte FC contest with, Big Ben Pub in Elizabeth has Mint City Collective, Mint Street Mafia, Southbound and Crown, Blue Foria is going to be there as well. I think Queens Firm also said they were going to be over there. I think anybody who's a supporter group
It's a
player,
party, that's for sure. It's a party, but it's not a party until we show up. So they'll have to invite us in the future.
absolutely. I think mine might have gotten lost in the mail. Who knows? But we'll certainly support those guys out there. But we do have some opposition research as we get you ready for Charlotte FC and New York Red Bulls tonight. Christian Ricardo from the Soccer Subs podcast has a chance to talk with us about how this match will go for either side, because he's not only a big fan of New York Red Bulls, but he also likes the black and blue as well. It is a special edition of Crown Corner on this Wednesday night as we get ready for the New York Red Bulls and U.S. Open Cup play. Another multi-match week for Charlotte FC. And let's get a little bit of a primer on the Red Bulls tonight as Christian Ricardo from the Soccer Subs podcast joins us on Crown Corner to go over the Red Bulls. What's going on, Christian? How are you? Thank you so much for taking some time here on match night.
We are Charlotte, the mighty black and blue. We are from the Carolinas. Sangre Negra y Azul. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I have such a soft spot for Charlotte, and as a New York Rebels fan, it's a pleasure to be here on with you guys.
That was a brilliant rendition. That was brilliant, right? We got insider info, but a soft spot for Charlotte Football Club. Are you going to be a little torn tonight? Are you going to be a little torn on Wednesday night with the matchup, or are you Red Bulls all the way?
It's going to be tough. I'm going to be happy either way. I'll put it like that. Obviously, New York Rebels fan since 2014 with the Henry area. I mean, look, it's just such an amazing game because for me, this is going to be the MLS version of Manchester City against Liverpool. So I'm excited for it.
It's obviously a new competition for us. How historically do you feel like Red Bulls have treated the U.S. Open Cup in terms of how they rotate their squad and just how much they really put the emphasis on wanting to win these matches?
I mean, you have to. Not only the Rebels, but every MLS team should take this very seriously because it's a direct spot for the Champions League. And look what Seattle did. You want to experience something like that. And what Gerhard Struber has been doing is mixing a little bit of the starters with the reserve, but a lot of emphasis is on being aggressive, not taking this competition lightly. And I'm sure Charlotte is going to do the same for tomorrow.
So there was a little bit of a press conference with Miguel today where he mentioned the fact that you guys won't be playing in your regular stadium, that you're playing it in a smaller university stadium. Do you think that makes a difference? Are you disappointed that you're not playing in your regular home stadium?
Absolutely. I mean, it's probably going to be more of an advantage to Charlotte because if I'm not mistaken, that's also synthetic turf and not real grass like we have a Rebel Arena. So that could be something beneficial to Charlotte. Now, they have played there before. They have gotten results. But honestly, I think for a home match this important, it should have been played at Rebel Arena. I believe there is a college graduation happening that unfortunately doesn't allow us to host it there. But I mean, also the attendance has been a problem at Rebel Arena over the last couple of years. That has dropped significantly in the last 2-3 years. And that's something that perhaps might be convenient for the Rebels since a lot of college fans will be in attendance. I hear they're expecting 5,000 people to show up. So maybe perhaps it's also good for the Rebels to play away since we're winning away as we say this year.
I know you mentioned the attendance drop and kind of where the interest is. I know that it is a hard market to penetrate. I know we've seen that with NYCFC too as well. But with a legacy team like this one, what has caused the drop in attendance and interest?
I think we were so used to having stars playing for our team, like Juan Pablo Angel, Rafa Marquez, Henry, Cahill. Now, since that has stopped and they have changed completely the way that they want to build this team, perhaps it doesn't call too much attention. But let me tell you this, there are 1996 MetroStars supporters that are still going to the game, that still show up. Shout out to the Torcida 96. Shout out to the South Ward and Viking Army because they do a phenomenal job. being there for the team. They're small, but they're still strong. So it's a little bit of a change, I guess. Look, if I was a part owner of the Red Bulls, I would do a little bit things differently because they are doing great stuff with the young players that we have on the team. But you also need playmakers, people that can change the game. Like, let's example, Seattle has Lodeiro, and Charlotte has players like Swiderski and players like Tito Ortiz, Alan Franco. There are players who can bring people to the stadium because not only their name, but the quality of players. So I think the Red Bulls organizations likes to gamble a lot with youth, and perhaps not investing on that big name has called for the attendance to drop in the last couple of years.
So you mentioned that you don't necessarily have a big name, but if New York Red Bulls are playing well, who on your pitch is playing well?
It has to be Frankie Amaya. I think what he has done for this team this year, and pretty much carrying the team on his shoulders, the significance that he has on the field with his technique, pinging balls to our forwards, to Cáceres or Klimala, and the way he's able to control the tempo of the game has been pretty impressive. There's a reason why the Red Bulls went and tried to acquire him from Cincinnati. I think he's someone that not only with the ball, but off the ball as well, whenever teams are countering us because we play such a high line, he's able to slow down the speed of the opposition with his positioning on the field. So he's someone to really keep an eye on for the future. And also anchoring that midfield, Drew Yearwood has been a player that has come from the championship and has really performed every single game. I think the pair between him and Amaya anchoring that midfield has been really, really solid and hard to break down. Look, I gotta say this. The New York Red Bulls seem like they give away goals, but their defense is really solid. The problem is that because of their style, because of the exposure that their defenders have playing those high lines, sometimes it's really difficult to defend, especially with speedy players and teams that can attack them. So like they can play defensively well if they're organized, but there are certain times where the New York Red Bulls seem desperate, and that can be a problem and something to benefit Charlotte.
Well, it's interesting, Christian, because, even a player like Lewis Morgan, who, is pretty much always around the ball and on different parts of the field, he played at wing back last game, and he's got different opportunities where he can go forward, and he's somebody who's one of the leaders in goals. I mean, it almost seems like sometimes it's organization be damned, because a lot of times it still results in goals.
Yeah, and the thing is that Lewis Morgan started off very hot, and he has gone from more to less, you would say, and the opposite can be said about Luquinhas, who has started off pretty slow, but now is picking up speed. So I wouldn't want them to be off balance. I would want both of them to be at a high level. But Lewis Morgan, it really is a good technical player, great off the dribble, great vision. I think sometimes he probably feels a little bit frustrated because, look, if he can take the shot, there's probably a bigger chance than our striker scoring. And that's the biggest problem that our team has. It's not that they're not able to get on the last third on the attacking zone. They can in different ways, but the biggest struggle has been being clinical in the 18-yard box.
We know about that. We know all about lack of clinical finishing. Fingers crossed from a Charlotte perspective that changes tonight. We have found out that Karol Swiderski is obviously traveling away. He won't be available for selection. Christian Fuchs out injured. Christian, you've had an opportunity to see Charlotte FC in person. With Karol Swiderski out, who would you say is a dangerous player from a Red Bulls perspective that we have on our side?
And that's a tough loss, because I was expecting him to be on the pitch tomorrow. As Miguel Angel has said, he's the MLS version of Karim Benzema, who is a very technical player. Obviously, the differences are there, right? But it's going to be a shame, because he does very well connecting with players like Shinya Shiki, who just came in and just came with a bag of goals. I think that's probably the main guy that you would want to have up top. Perhaps Rios, who came in as a sub in the last game, has done pretty well. it's going to be tough to replace Karol Swiderski. But I do think you have wide attackers that can complement Rios, and they can put up a fight against the Rebels.
I was going to ask you just kind of how Charlotte has gone into this 4-3-3 model, and we don't know what they're going to look like tonight, but I do feel like from the standpoint of where they are, that wide berth offers a lot of different things. How do you feel New York is able to counter that, especially when you have wingers with width and speed that it seems like Charlotte FC can boast now?
Well, they're going to have the chances. That's just because the Rebels' methodology allows for other teams to do that. Now, Charlotte's going to have to be very precise on the way they send out balls to their attackers, because we also have speedy players as well. Tom Edwards is still young. It's 23 years old. He can catch up if he needs to run track back. It's going to also depend on who's going to be playing on Wednesday. Now, as far as I'm concerned, John Tolkien has been sidelined because of COVID protocols. And to me, he's one of the engines of this team. Although he plays as a left back, he's someone that can read the play very well, cuts play amazingly. He can run and track back and also push forward. So it depends if they're going to play John Tolkien or Pendant, the French USL player who has been brought up back to the first team, who's also fast. So it's going to depend on who plays on Wednesday, but they're used to it. Rebels know that playing a style like that, they're going to have Charlotte players trying to ping balls as well. So it's just a matter of how they regroup with Amaya, with Drew Yearwood helping covering that field.
And I'd be amiss not to ask before we say goodbye to you, what's your score prediction and who's scoring goals?
I'm sorry to break the heart of Charlotte fans, but this is going to go down to a 2-1. I think we can expect Patrick Klimala. I know that he has been trouble in the 1v1s, but he's a good poacher. He's someone that he can find, he can smell, has that sense of a striker who can finish plays. And I think he'll get one goal. Perhaps we get one from Luquinhas, who has been on fire. And on Charlotte's end, I would love to see one of my Ecuadorians get a goal. And I'm not sure if Alcivar Franco will play, but I think it's going to be a good game tomorrow, Wednesday.
Well, Franco was held down on Sunday. I tried to ask Miguel whether or not it was because of this matchup coming up on Wednesday. He declined to say it like that, but I think he's going to feature here on Wednesday night. Christian, we know you've got a soft spot for Charlotte. We hope that this game will not dampen that, and we still see you with some blue and black and mint after this weekend.
Absolutely. The fans are probably the best ones that I've ever seen in this years in MLS. So I think the team and the fans deserve nothing but great things for Charlotte.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. That is our good friend Christian Ricardo from the Soccer Subs podcast. You can find them on Twitter at Soccer Subs Radio. Let's start right there, Jess. What do we think the lineup's going to look like? And our friend Scott Gottlieb is asking that very question. This could go a number of different ways. We could see squad rotation like we saw with Richmond and Greenville, or does Miguel change it up when we see our first MLS side of this competition?
And it's always unpredictable with Miguel Angel Ramirez. Let's be honest here. We cannot tell what's going through his mind. He's very subtle and secretive at times, as you alluded to after asking him questions in the pressers.
But when you even say who the goalie was. Like, come on, man.
Just tell us something, please, Miguel.
Give me a kernel.
You love to see a little bit of secrecy. He's trying to hold his cards close to his chest. But for me, you're playing the toughest opposition that you've had. We know Miguel loves cup competitions. We know that he values them and takes them seriously. New York Red Bulls are a very tough opposition. So I'd expect to see a little bit of rotation, probably just because of rested legs. But I think we're going to see more starters than we saw against a Richmond, against a Greenville, just because it's going to be our toughest competition yet. And let's be honest, we really value this as an opportunity, a pathway to silverware in your first season. We value it as an opportunity to get the international spot in CONCACAF. And Dennis Escobar saying Vargas has to start. Look, based on his performance coming off the bench, yeah, I'd love to see him start. Do I think he's going to? Probably not. We've got to remember he only got here less than a week ago. He arrived, right? And so he hasn't had time to get used to the system. But I expect him to play some time.
I don't mind seeing Vargas off the bench for the simple fact that he's the fastest dude on the pitch, and I'd rather see him running at full speed right off the bat in the 70th minute against guys with tired legs, especially
like
center backs who are on their 70th minute.
You know, we talked about Mackenzie Gaines as well, having that speed off the bench. Vargas not only has speed, though, and this is no disrespect to Mackenzie Gaines, but Vargas has shown already that he's got the confidence to take a shot, and he's got the distribution to find the target more often than not. So I'd love to see him get plenty of minutes and really bring a challenge. And like you say, Will, against a fatigued defensive line. And let's not forget how the Red Bulls play. They're going to play very, very high. They're going to press like crazy. Well, what does that leave behind you? It leaves miles and miles of space for us to exploit. And how do you exploit space most effectively? With speed. So someone like Vargas could be the man of your nightmares defensively, particularly if you're already blowing out your bottom.
Before we start scouting New York, Miguel did say one of the things in part of his comments yesterday, part of his questioning and answering in Spanish, the players that he coached in South America, they were used to playing every 3 days. And the fact that he brought that up maybe makes me think like he's taking this to the point where it's like just another league game and he wants to be able to win it. And he even said something in English too, where he's like, we believe in ourselves anytime we get out there on the pitch. And there was also a little bit of a chip, I think, on their shoulder too, when they found out that while New York was drawn as the home side for this contest, they have to play this in an alternate arena, Montclair State University, because I guess they have a graduation, like Christian said, at Red Bull Arena. So I think there's some saltiness there for Miguel, and I think he wants to prove that, hey, not only do we belong, but we're going to take this about as seriously as they can, because if they do win and get to the round of 8, they would host each of the next 2 rounds if they're able to get themselves beyond the round of 16.
And it's huge. There was disrespect involved in terms of he doesn't feel like enough sides have taken this competition seriously. Miguel has preached from the minute he got here that he loves cup competitions. He wishes there was more competition throughout the year to take a break from the league sometimes, and it does give you another focus. And he wants to get a CONCACAF spot. He's not been shy about wanting to get to travel and go around and play the best, in the continent as well. So this is the best way, potentially the easiest way. Now you've got this far in the tournament to get there. So I expect him to take it very seriously. And yeah, let's be honest. Look, graduations take place, and that's no disrespect to the kids that are graduating. Cool, your date's booked, but kind of a bit of a crap show that now you're playing in a less than average style of stadium. You wouldn't want to come and play at Matthews, would you?
Did I not just see you post about your graduation, though? I mean, come on. Is it a little hypocritical double talk out of here from
my graduation happened in my school gym. I didn't get no Red Bull Arena. So maybe I'm a bit salty about that as well. I wish I got to walk out at Bank of America or something instead of just up the basketball gym.
We had Mizzou Arena, but again, it was it was at the end of the season, so there was no opportunity for an alternating event. Miguel Angel Ramirez offered this particular scouting report for this side tonight as they get ready for Red Bulls in Jersey.
They just change the formation depending on the formation of the opponent. Out of that, they repeat always the same behaviors, always. And the squad is made to do that. So we will face tomorrow, we will face exactly the same in 2 weeks. So the challenge is how different we can be to affect their behaviors and for them to suffer to find a solution,
For Matthew, he says, love the chip that Miguel Angel Ramirez coaches with. Definitely. I mean, it sounds to me like a coach who wants to win this competition. And be sure to keep those questions firing. We'll answer them for as long as we have you here on Crown Corner, on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, as well as YouTube. It's a situation where I think New York, I watched their game again against Miami. They're a beatable side. And they're not a side that has what I would consider to be like they don't have somebody on their side like an Higuain or a Yedlin, somebody who's of great impeccable skill that you have to account for. Yes, Lewis Morgan's leading them with 5 goals, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you all of a sudden have to mark him with your most dangerous player and follow him throughout the entire pitch. I feel like if Charlotte FC gets in their 4-3-3, possesses the ball, and plays its game, I think they can win this contest.
And I agree with you. I'm not really scared of this opposition, to be quite frank. And I think Miguel has changed his mindset a little bit, coaching as well, that he's going to go out and approach this one to win the match instead of being fearful in the approach. I think he's going to go out and he's going to encourage his side to attack. Yes, at times you have to be a little smart when they're pressing you high. I think the biggest thing we have to avoid today is individual errors, particularly early on. We cannot, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, we cannot have a repeat of what happened on Sunday. We cannot have a cheap giveaway. We cannot allow that press and kind of panic or try and do some sort of Maradona-esque skill around the press. No, if in doubt, just get rid of the ball. Like, it's okay to be ugly sometimes if you're going to avoid those sorts of things. And I think it's interesting. Matthew Krenz brings up about Fuchs' injury. Obviously, we already know he's not going to be in the lineup tonight. I think Miguel talked about that being something that was very prevalent. And look, we're going to miss his leadership. That's for certain. And my other concern is, okay, bar that one moment, Christian Fuchs has been very good about playing out the press. You bring a Christian Makoun in, and look, Makoun's done well. He's won the 2 matches lately where he's come in as a halftime substitute or an early half substitute for Fuchs, but he makes me a little bit more nervous. He doesn't have quite the same service consistently, and the pairing of Corujo and Makoun is slightly more of a liability, I would say, on paper, versus that experience, that leadership, that composure, bar the mistake of Christian Fuchs that we saw on Sunday.
Well, it's think about it from this perspective, Jess, because watching them the way they played against Montreal, we saw Makoun depart on that one play that led to one of the 2 goals, led to the first goal with Georgi Mihailovic. I'm wondering if some of that nervousness about Makoun forces Miguel to start Corujo. I mean, the only other option I think he would have to start would probably be Anton Walks. He's already said that Jan Sabaczynski is not somebody who they feel is ready for heavy minutes against MLS competition. I'm wondering if that might force Miguel's hand to say, hey, look, I understand that asking Corujo to possibly log 2 straight situations where he's going 90 minutes about 48 to 62 hours after he went 90 minutes against Vancouver. I understand that that's a tough ask for a center back, but it might prove necessary tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the experience, and I think sometimes you don't want to change too much. I'm a preacher, as I've said, from the goalkeeper perspective, that you want to have as consistent of a back line as possible regularly. And we don't know who we're going to see in goal. I know you asked, and Miguel wouldn't tell you. We've seen George Marks, but as well, we know that Christian Kalina is the favored goalkeeper in terms of the number 1. So I think it's going to be tough to pick that back line, and Christian Fuchs is a definite miss.
Dennis Escobar says we definitely need to speed up the game so we can take advantage of that point Jess made. Red Bulls is going to have a high press and leave a lot of space in that back line. And that's the one thing, too. When I say play your game, that means don't play defensive. Don't sit back and sag back into a 4-4-2 like what happened against Montreal and be so guarded against the press like you did against that squad and Philadelphia. I think this actually plays into Charlotte's hands. Like you said, there probably is going to be a lot of open space. And you saw the way they played against Vancouver. They put a lot of long service into that contest for Andre Shinyashiki and Kamil Josviak down either flank to start the contest. And it really started to take shape when they brought in Kerwin Vargas on the left wing as well. So I do feel like this is something where you maybe carbon copy a bit of that same game plan you had against Vancouver and implement it tonight against the New York Red Bulls side, like you said, has a propensity to leak goals.
And in the point of Dennis as well, I think also, look, I'm all for recycling the play at times, and we do a good job of keeping possession when it's not on. But sometimes you got to take that gamble, and sometimes you've got to force it to be on, even if you're not 100% sure. If you see the counterattack, if you see they press, if you see their space over the top, don't pass it sideways, don't recycle it, take that space, have the cojones to go and get it and take it on. And I think we want to see them move a little quicker in that transition at times, because that's when you can exploit that press and you can keep them off the boat. And now you've got players that have not only the speed to beat you one-on-one, but the skill set to beat you one-on-one, and the confidence to cut in and take a shot like the likes of Andre Shinyashiki. I think if we can find him in space over the top or to his feet, and he can drive and take on the last defender and have a go on goal, we could get a lot of people in the crowd shimmying.
You could possibly. And we want to make sure we know and tell that. You heard it first on Crown Corner last week. Andre said he was going to shimmy, and darn it if he did. And neither of us saw it because of our position in the broadcast booth, but Charlotte FC.
And I can confirm he messaged us to say that he told us he would do it and he wouldn't let us down. So lovely guy, big fan of Andre Shinyashiki.
Yeah, their video team put out a great celebration video of Shinyashiki shimmying to that goal, the first one in the 8th minute against Vancouver. You mentioned the high press of the New York Red Bulls. One of the things that is going to be a real big key for Charlotte FC is winning those second balls, which I know is a pet peeve of yours, Jess, and Miguel Angel Ramirez recognizes that as well.
What they try when they cannot penetrate through short passes or average passes inside or outside, they go for the long balls, and in the second ball they try to connect with these guys. So it's so important in this game. Not as, of course, the first ball are always important, but more important are the second balls. Are super important in this game because they live from the second ball. So after they lose the ball, they counter press and they recover super soon the ball. So we need to be super awake on these kind of actions.
Awake, physical, quickest to react. It's so important to win those second balls, those jewels in the midfield, and cleaning up on the second ball. Sometimes you've got to anticipate, but most importantly, you've got to react and get there first consistently, because if New York Red Bulls start to win those second balls, particularly in dangerous areas, they could really put us under pressure and hurt us. If we can take away that outlet from them and we can control the game by winning those second balls, I have a good feeling about this. I just have this gut feeling, and I hope I'm right.
Just to, again, for those of you who might just be joining us, no Karol Swiderski available tonight. He's out for the UEFA Nations League competition going on in Europe. Kamil Jonsviak will join him after the Seattle contest on the weekend. So we will have at least the ability to have Kamil available for selection. Don't know whether he's starting tonight or not. No Jordi Reyna, no Christian Fuchs. But outside of that, Charlotte FC comes in pretty healthy outside of the other two guys who have been long-term injuries, or three guys who've been long-term injuries, Chris Hagard, Vinny Mello, and Adam Armour. You're only able to dress 18 in U.S. Open play, so I do feel like this will be something where Miguel Angel Ramirez has to be very cautious with the 20 or with the 18 that he selects tonight, just because of the fact that, like we said, Jess, there could be a varying bit of, I would say, care when it comes to certain teams, when it comes to the U.S. Open Cup. From what we can at least surmise, we believe that Miguel is going to go for it tonight, and, Sunday be damned, so to speak.
And I think once the starting lineup's released, we'll know what way he's going for it. When we see how many starting players or regular starters are in the roster versus, second string per se, then it will really demonstrate to us how seriously he's going to take it. But every comment he's made shows that he really values this Open Cup, and I'm glad that he does, because the fans deserve this excitement. Who wouldn't want to be in a cup competition? Who wouldn't want to be pushing for silverware? And most importantly, who wouldn't want to beat New York Red Bulls and get to return home and hopefully get an opportunity to fill the Bank of America Stadium and really prove some haters wrong that I got to MLS.com's finest, get to hear from Jess Charman all over again.
Yeah, you were on with Andrew Wiebe on the MLS Power Ranking show yesterday, and he was one of the foremost critics of our build and our situation, and he really has no leg to stand on right now. I know we're still early. We don't want to be, talking smack before the competition's over, but I do like seeing a lot of these different national and international pundits start to kind of curl back and actually, recognize the fact, 16 points in 13 contests, probably a lot better than we thought that this squad would be.
And the reverse has really been hit on fast. So it's exciting to be able to prove people wrong. And I hope Charlotte FC can continue to do so. And next step in proving people wrong is tonight and really pulling out all the stops to try and get through to the next round of Open Cup. And, wouldn't you love some silverware?
I would love some silverware. Big fan of some silverware, and a big fan more of that international football coming in next year. Maybe a trip to Azteca for you and I, if that could possibly be in the cards for that. Don't forget the Open Cup match tonight at New York Red Bulls, available only on ESPN Plus. There's no regional blackout, so you can feel free to watch it if you're in Charlotte. If you're not in Charlotte, wherever you might be in the country, you can watch that. And also, tickets went on sale today for Charlotte FC's matchup with Chelsea on July the 20th at Bank of America Stadium. You can get your tickets online at Ticketmaster or at the B of A box office, or log on to charlottefootballclub.com. Next time you will hear and see us will be on the weekend at Seattle. Charlotte FC taking on the Seattle Sounders. Our coverage begins on WFNZ at 9 o'clock for a 9:30 kick. Bring the extra caffeine, Jess, for that contest against Seattle. And hopefully we'll be talking about another win here on Wednesday.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed there's a big week of wins. Thanks, everyone, for joining. It's been a blast as always.
We'll talk to you on Sunday, and go blue and black and mint. We'll see you on the broadcast tonight at 8 on ESPN+.